Hello. Hi, I'm Carissa, and I just wanted to start out today. We're still waiting for Marlys. She was stuck in traffic and a rainstorm, so hopefully she'll get here pretty soon. But this is our first episode of Every Girl Living Live, and when you know it, that one of us is running late. But hopefully that will be able to kick this off pretty soon and she'll be able to join us. But if you have listened to our podcast before, this is really this is going to be just like our podcast. So we're just going to be doing 30-minute episodes every Thursday at 2:30. And so I hope that you will join us. We'll start to have more announcements. But this is about you and really just gaining the skills that you need and learning some things, hopefully that we can help you. But to think about it, every single day, there is another demand on your life and your time and energy. And at the end of the day, do you ever wonder, how did my life get here? Well, as a little girl, this is not likely what you had in mind when you dreamed of growing up, but here you are wanting something better for your life. And this is really why we're here, is that we are here to help you to gain some skills and learn some new things. And so I'm going to come back in just a few minutes with Marlys. But right now, today, what we're going to be talking about is grief and loss, and really some of the things that we struggle with during the holidays, and especially when things are hard. So maybe you have lost a loved one, or maybe there's something else going on. And so that's going to be the topic of the conversation today. I hope you join us. Marlys said she's 3 minutes away, so she should be joining us any minute. So we'll probably put on the banner again just to let it run. But please come back in about 3 minutes. But in the meantime, if there's any questions that you have, any comments, things like that, just this is a live feed, so just go ahead and ask those questions, and then that way we can interact with you. So I just appreciate you coming in and jumping on with us. But again, we're going to be 3 minutes getting started. And so I will talk to you very, very soon. And thank you for your patience. Yeah.
no, from here.
To your group longer.
Okay.
Yeah. I know. Way to go. And then like, hi. Oh my gosh, that's so cute. Yeah. So we are here and people are on and waiting on us. Oh my, I know. I'm in the show. Watch this. So cute. Watch this. Hello, everybody. Marlys made it.
Hi.
So you might want to.
I know.
Yeah. So we are so glad that some of you guys came back or that you waited online. So thank you for being patient with everybody. Yeah, so
Yes.
How you doing?
Traffic, man. Holiday traffic. I left at 1:45.
Yeah.
Here I am.
And we were going to start at 2:30. So yeah.
Yes.
So if you are from Jacksonville, you would understand. So it's crazy. But today we were going to talk about just the challenges of holidays, because a lot of times I always talk about how this time of year we see a bombardment of commercials that are like the Publix commercials that are like
Yes.
the perfect family.
Yes.
And, you know, grandma and grandpa come home.
Yes.
And, yeah, I don't know. It's like
All the cooking and all the
everybody's happy.
everyone's happy. The perfect filter.
And it's like this huge table and there's like tons of people around.
Yes.
And that's not my reality.
That's not real.
No, it's I don't know.
Cute. I think it's
I wish it was. I wish it was more real for a lot of us, I guess. But so today we wanted to talk about just the difficulties of, you know, loss, grief, when sucky things happen.
Yeah.
And how do we deal that? And especially when everybody's like, happy holidays, you know, and everybody's so excited.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm trying to not cry, you know, and
Yeah.
yeah. So so for some of you might not know this, but Marlys and I have kind of gone through some challenges ourselves this last year. Yeah, for me it's been since 2020.
Yeah.
So yeah. And we thought we were kind of like, what would we start talking about first? And we thought this would be a great conversation. And it sounds like I think a lot of you maybe are experiencing some of those challenges as well. And so we thought this would be a good place to talk about it. So I'm going to open up the chat as well. It's been open. If you have anything that you want to chat about, send us a question, make a comment. I know Katie, just a little shout out to you. You had said that you wanted to talk about like heartbreak. And so we'll definitely, I think, talk a lot about all of those things.
Yeah.
So yeah, where do we begin?
I can begin with so this year we definitely had a family emergency.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking actually to like one of my really close friends 2 days ago, and she's been through a lot of grief as well and loss as well. And, you know, we were just kind of talking and we're like, yeah, like I'm not into like Christmas this year, right? Just kind of the reality of it.
Yeah.
I love the lights,
but
then like upon reflection, I kind of was like, I was never one for like the hustle and bustle, all of that cheer. My mindset is I can be happy all year. Why be happy only one time?
Yeah.
But I think this year for me and for what I'm going through, it was more or less like, well, it's not the same. So it's going to feel weird and it feels rushed. So I think with just like daily life, like I looked at my calendar and I was like, Christmas is next week.
I know. It's
Like
right around the corner.
that is insane to me.
Yeah.
So I think part of my frustration with the season this year is the fact that I don't feel like I'm truly in it. Right. And for those of you guys that part of your Christian tradition is Advent, like Advent's whole thing is preparation and waiting. And the whole time I'm just like, I'm not preparing. I feel like it's just like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, it's like a mad rush.
Yeah. And this week, I think I have set a lot more time intentionally, like to be, even if it's 2 minutes or 3 minutes, just to be still.
Yeah.
Because at least then I can start prepping myself for how Christmas will look different. Not bad, not wrong, but just different. And I think then I can actually be in the moment a little bit more, if that makes sense.
It totally makes sense. It sounds like what I'm hearing you say too is that it's like I have to let go of these expectations or even what holidays look like for me before Christmas look for me, and be able to be okay in this space.
Yeah.
And to create the space for what I need. And I think that's a huge lesson for all of us, is that we have to let go of expectations of what it should be like. And be okay with what do I need?
Is.
What it is and what do I need in this?
Yeah.
To kind of piggyback on what you were saying, is that I had this kind of realization that as a believer, as a Christian, for me, Christmas has always been kind of, it is a special holiday. However, I have found that over the several years, many years, it has gotten to be more about like Christmas gifts and parties and, all of these things. And one of the things for me, I've been discovering is that I need to get back to what it really is supposed to be about and not worry about these things. That it is, kind of the spirit of Advent, just preparing our hearts for this. And it has nothing to do with all of these other things. And in that kind of gives me a little bit of space to kind of say, I don't have to be, if I'm tired or if I'm sad, that's okay. That's what the whole holiday is about.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that I have a space now to be able to say, go to God, to be able to say, okay, I have this hurt and I'm taking it to you. And that's the message, right? That we don't have to live alone anymore. That was the good news, is that
literally
we have a relationship now. Instead of like, are you, what are you getting, so-and-so for Christmas?
And also, like, at least for me, like, I don't care. Like, I think to sit down and just be like, I don't really care what anyone gives you for Christmas.
No.
I don't really expect all the presents. Like, you could give me a wrapped hand sanitizer from Bath and Body Works December 25th or February 25th. And I will be as excited for both. So I think just being, especially for, folks that are listening to this and you may not lean towards any belief when it leans towards Christianity. I think part of it is just being honest with yourself and just being like, does this matter to me? Yeah. And then being honest with your friends, right? It doesn't make you a Grinch and it doesn't make you a Scrooge. Yeah. It's just like, I am someone that asks for practical things like water bottles.
Yeah.
And I get excited February 25th or December 25th, right? So I think that's the thing too.
Yeah, and it's that creating that space, creating this of what we need in these moments, because sometimes when we are going through a really hard time. So for me, the other thing can happen is that we can have anniversary grief, right?
Yeah.
So my mom passed away in 2020, and she was dealing with dementia for a long time. So it was, to be honest, for a while, things were rough.
Yeah.
Right. So there was a long history of that. But with her passing, there has been things. And then we have had like a ton of deaths of our dogs. We had to put our dog down in 2020 at right around Christmas time. It was December 23rd. And then recently my sweet Ella died I had to put her down because she had a stroke, and that was in September. And then shockingly, our new puppy died. And that was like right around Thanksgiving, which coincidentally was around the time when my mom passed. So it was, my mom passed in 2020, a day after Thanksgiving, and then my dog passes, 2 years later, right around the same time. And so it brought up a lot of sadness. Yeah. And so there were times where I'm like, I just feel like, you want me to decorate the tree?
Yeah.
Like, I just don't want to do that right now.
Yeah.
And so it's creating that. And one of the things that's kind of come up as I've realized is that a lot of folks, we have these expectations of what our life should look like, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we keep going into it like this should not have happened,
Mm-hmm.
right? My person in my life should not have left me.
Mm-hmm.
My dog shouldn't have died.
Mm-hmm.
My husband should be healthier than what he is.
Mm-hmm.
All these shoulds. And so all of this expectation and in that is the struggle.
Yes.
And I've been saying this a lot lately, is that in the fight of it shouldn't be this way is the struggle.
Yeah, because you can't control it.
We can't control it.
Or it's happened, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you're fighting a losing battle, which kind of digs you deeper into the ditch.
Yeah.
Which then I think brings on like hopelessness, powerlessness, anxiety, depression, because you're fighting a should.
Yeah. It should be this way, or it shouldn't be that way. That's not fair.
Yeah.
And reality is, it sucks.
It's not. Yeah.
It isn't fair.
No.
But can we be able to be in that moment to say, okay, this sucks right now, but it is what it is.
Yes.
Right? This person is not with me anymore.
Yes.
My sweet Lola died.
Yes.
I can't bring her back as much. And I could go back. Trust me, I went through a little period of going, woulda, shoulda, coulda, why did I go down that trail that day?
Yeah.
There's all those things, but it's looking at that. The reality is that she is gone.
Yeah.
So what do I do about it?
Yeah.
And so this goes back to what we talked about, creating space. Can I create space for my grief?
Yes.
My loss, my frustration. So if I'm going through heartache, so somebody broke my heart, instead of going, it shoulda, woulda, coulda, woulda, they shouldn't have done this to me, or this is unfair, being able to sit in this discomfort. And this is, I think, where we struggle so much, right? Is sitting in discomfort.
Oh yeah. It feels like you're dying, but you're not.
Yeah.
It feels extremely horrible.
It hurts so bad.
And sometimes it comes out of nowhere, right? Because like heartache is a form of grief. We're not even talking about like folks that possibly have lost their jobs. That's a form of grief. Folks that are struggling with being in a space that they can't, right? Like financial grief, emotional grief. There's so many different types of grief that I think part of it is also recognizing like, this really sucks and I can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
But how can I just accept? Because sometimes it also comes as a roller coaster. You may be great Monday morning, and by Monday at noon, you're bawling your eyes out and you don't know why.
Yeah.
Right. But like, at least in my process, like I go through it a lot easier if I'm not mean to myself and tell myself like, why are you crying again? It's like, I may just need to cry again.
Yeah.
And then just like continue through the day. Right. Like, and I think that's what making space looks like. Like, how can you just say, I feel this, let me sit in it, not get stuck in it, and then know that I can lift again.
I'm not going to camp out and pitch a tent in it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that.
That's not your zip code. Don't make it your address.
Yeah. So that's swamp. And that's really what I think the term is swampland of the soul. And we're not going to build a house in the swamp.
I love that.
And so
Florida gals to you.
So I might put on my waders and I might need to go in.
Yeah.
I might need to go into that swamp for a while, but I'm not going to like hang out there.
No.
Not going to stay overnight.
No.
God, I'd be scared to death.
No. Yeah.
But okay, that's a whole nother talk. But I would go into it and say, okay, I need to be in here for a while. So I need to give myself space and grace.
Yeah.
And then be able to move through it. And so I have that mindfulness of, I'm not going to get lost. I had somebody say to me, and I thought it was so beautiful how she said it. She goes, I was confusing my anxiety or my depression and overwhelm with my anxiety. Meaning it was, if I allow myself to feel sad when something happens, then it's going to overwhelm me like my anxiety does.
Huh.
And so she allowed herself to feel it, to feel the sadness and the overwhelm, and realized when I let myself do that, it didn't stay around.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like a panic attack.
Yeah.
And that's a huge thing for folks. It's like, if I allow myself to feel these feelings right now, then they're going to overwhelm me and it's going to be awful and it's going to be terrible. But it's not.
I think that also brings up sometimes when folks think I can't feel this, or I'm afraid to enter this because I have anxiety or because I have depression, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm a big believer that diagnoses are great indicators of what's going on with you, but they're not identity.
No.
Which means that you can still feel feelings. Like, you're allowed to feel, right? It's like whenever we work with folks that they're like, I think I'm having anxiety. And it's like, yeah, it's part of life.
Yeah.
But it's not crippling at this moment.
Yeah.
Right. So like that is such a great example, because there's also many that experience like, oh, I'm just really sad right now. It's like, no, you're going through depression.
Yeah.
Or the vice versa of, I can never be sad or I'll go into depressive episodes.
Yeah.
Like,
that happens a lot.
no, you have to feel that emotion, especially when
Or
there's
it turns into
loss.
depression.
Yeah. What is it? Emotional constipation.
Yeah.
Many have said that like it just kind of builds up in there.
Yeah.
Because like you need to feel that. Any form of loss, again, like whatever it is. And it's also learning to not judge it, right? Like just because someone that you love lost a person and you lost a job, it's not that you can't grieve that job because that person has lost a person. The grief looks different, but it's still grief.
It's still grief.
Heartbreak, that is grief.
Yeah.
Right. Like, especially, and expectation. Like, I was going to bring this person to meet my family and meet my friends. And if there's travel involved, like work, there's so many things that come back again with that should.
Yeah. What are we supposed to do now?
Yeah.
Right. You did this to me. And, and so, and it may be that we need to kind of tolerate it for a minute, and we need to be able to say, okay, your mics are on. I'm looking. Okay, sorry about that. I was reading our chat for a second. Hi, Christy.
Hey, Christy.
So so we've got these situations that come up. Like, you broke my heart, and now what am I supposed to do? Well, maybe we don't have to do anything.
Yeah, definitely don't get some, like, it makes me think of every Christmas movie of that, because that's the trope, right? It's like, I'm going home to see my family. I'm not dating anyone, or this person just broke up with me. Let me get someone to fake it. Or let me get this person to to come and do it. Because again, it's that Band-Aid. It's like, as opposed to, hey, yeah, he broke up with me. Or she broke up with me. Or he
cheated on me.
Yeah, right? Like,
and it's looking at that, if that's the case, if something happened like that, that isn't a reflection on you.
No.
Right. And that's the thing, is that we sometimes think of it like, well, this is about me.
Yes, it's happening to me.
Yeah.
As opposed to, wow, like, I'm experiencing the human condition of loss.
And this person was an asshole.
Yes. Sometimes it's just that. Sometimes it's just Chad being an asshole. If you know a Chad, I'm sorry, but like,
it just happens sometimes. And we have to kind of go, and I don't mean to be flippant about that, but sometimes like, it's just like, this person is not a good person for me right now, or they're not handling whatever. And so now maybe if it is a partner, it's like a marriage, marriage. Yeah, we'll probably need to get some counseling on that and maybe talk that through, and like, what else is going on and why is this happening? But it's, again, can I take a step back? We had a female that we were working with, and I will say this woman was amazing because it came to the point, they first came for counseling, and then he kind of was like flaking out a little bit, but she continued, and she started to take ownership of her own emotions and her own feelings, and was like, when he would do something, she's like recognizing that that was a trigger. And that she didn't want to trigger him. And she also would, like, he's pushing a button of mine. Why is it bothering me? And she would take a step back and she'd be like, okay, I'm not gonna react to this. And then it come to find out, then he had started cheating on her. And so she decided that she had every right to leave, but she said, I don't feel like I'm released from this relationship yet. And this was a Christian woman. So she said,
that's maturity. And
she's just like, I really don't. And so she really continued to commit to pray for him in the relationship. And I'm like,
that is more powerful. I would have been like, where Airbnbs near me. Like,
that is, put his stuff out. But no, I mean, and I think, I'm not saying that everybody should do that, but if we are okay in ourselves, we can create, again, the space to be able to allow that to happen without it to tear us down.
Yes.
And that, I think, is the big thing, is that, and hopefully our takeaways for today is that you can be able to kind of say, okay, I need to create space for this.
Yeah.
And that I can sit with this. This is not going to destroy me.
Yeah.
And I can reinvent things. I can look at this in a different way too. So one little story, last story, is that so we were probably, I don't know, Anthony and I had been living here in Florida for probably just a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And our son Ryan was up in Virginia, and he wasn't coming back to, for Christmas or coming to for Christmas. And so it was just us
Mm-hmm.
and our dog,
Mm-hmm.
Miles. This was even before we got Ella. And I remember thinking I wanted a Publix Christmas. Like I wanted the big table with all of the family, but it wasn't a reality. And so I could either hold on to that and go, I don't have this. And I can be really sad and upset and be bummed out because like, this is so unfair that life has turned out that I don't have this whole big, huge household.
Mm-hmm.
Or I have another option. What do I? And so it was like, okay, what is my other option? What do I want to do? And we ended up that year getting an Airbnb up in Savannah.
Oh.
And we spent the Christmas in Savannah. And it was like the most magical kind of experience.
Yeah.
The B&B was amazing. It was right on the river. Like it was so sweet. Yeah. And it was kind of like, okay, I can stay in this and be hurt and sad and upset by this. Or after I've allowed myself to grieve, I can go, okay, what else can I do?
Yeah.
To make this still, it may not be what I originally anticipated, but
it
doesn't
may be
have
even
to be
better.
bad. It could be better, or it could be not as bad, or it could be just as good.
Yeah.
So it's having those options, right?
I think, yeah. And the biggest thing I want to offer anyone that listens to this is you have the option to choose different. And that means that like traditions don't always have to look like Publix, right? Like you created your own thing for that year. And I think that's what's important as well, right? Like know your limit and remember the good of whatever it is that you are also grieving, right? There is beauty in practicing gratitude. And by that, I don't mean like, well, I'm grateful for the sun. Cool if you are, but just the fact that like, okay, you know what? I'm grateful for, Christy, you mentioned that, your grandmother passing away. Like, I'm grateful that I had a grandmother that I had a relationship and connection with.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because at that time that helps ground you and it doesn't invalidate that you're still waiting in the swamp. It's just recognizing it and saying that like, I can take something from this.
Yeah.
I can make something from this loss, right? It doesn't have to become me.
Yeah.
I can make it become a part of my growth and my experience.
Your journey.
Yeah. And we may not be ready for that in the moment, right? Like a lot of just like my day-to-day, sometimes hour by hour, just like prayers and internal affirmations is, I don't know what this is teaching me, but it's making me become a lot more skilled in something I did not know I needed to be skilled at.
Yeah.
Right. And is knowing that in the unknown, there can also be light.
Yeah.
It's just looking for it.
Yeah.
And sometimes we got to create it, whether it's an iPhone light or the sun, light is light.
Yeah. Just finding that. So we usually always would end our podcast with our takeaways from that. And so since we are live, I would love if you're watching to be able to hear what your takeaway is. Mm-hmm. But Marlys, what is your takeaway from today?
Yeah. My takeaway is, at least for me, I love this process of talking about it. So my takeaway is is reality in talking to people about it, because everyone has experienced some sort of loss.
Yeah.
And it makes the connection not as deeper as that ditch that you're talking about, right? Yeah. So that's my biggest takeaway. And to create different, not Publix.
Yeah.
Where shopping is a pleasure. But create different.
Yeah. I know for me, I think my takeaway is to be able to just create the space.
Mm-hmm.
I have such a hard time with that. Mm-hmm. So even though I'm sharing this with you to create space, I sometimes have a hard time doing it myself. And I have to remember to create space. In fact, I've been telling everybody about this. I downloaded an app called Welltory. Mm-hmm. And it was right after Lola died. And I was a wreck. I was like a mess. And I ended up measuring. So I was taking measurements. So it measures your heart rate, kind of your stress, if you're in sympathetic nervous system, if you're fight or flight, or, where you are in your body. And I kept thinking like, this thing's got to be broken, because it was showing that I was like off the charts.
Really?
Like I was so like in the red zone on stuff. Wow. And I'm like, seriously, no, it can't be right. Today, and so this has been about maybe 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. Today was the first day I got green. Like I was actually, this morning, and it told me, it was because I kept, even though I didn't believe it, I kept thinking, well, it might be right. Mm-hmm. And so I kept working on giving myself space and going, okay, I'm not going to push so much into this. I'm going to actually like just be here. So there is power in that. And so it took me to have an external app to tell me.
Sometimes we need that.
Yeah, but it worked.
Well, Tori.
Yeah, it's an interesting app. Okay. Now, Katie said to create space. So for her, that's her takeaway as well.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, we are going to be trying to be on time.
Yes.
every Thursday at 2:30. Now, next Thursday probably won't be just because of the Christmas.
Because of the holidays.
Yeah, the holiday. So we probably will have 2 weeks off, but then we'll get back into things in the first. So we hope to see you guys. We'll send out announcements on Facebook and everywhere that you can watch this. It's available on Facebook, all of our Facebook pages, YouTube, and LinkedIn. We will upload this to our podcast, so you can also listen again on any platform that podcast. There you go. I know, what do you call those? But yeah, so that's that. And then I wanted to say too, as we wrap up, is that we also are going to be doing our Women's Wellness Boot Camp. Again, that's a free event. Invite your friends, sign up. It's going to be every Tuesday, starting on I should have had this right in front of me, the second Tuesday of January, and it will go for 5 weeks. And each week, there'll be a different topic. So we'll have like physical health, emotional health, financial health, and we've got each one of our team members will be presenting. So there'll be some announcements going out very soon. And so sign up for that. And again, invite your friends, and we hope to see you for that. Awesome. All right, you guys. Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
It's so good to have you joining us today.
Yeah.
All right.